What were you doing in the background? I just saw you doing all this, Joseph.
I was trying to fix my mic as quickly as possible because there was some static noise coming into play, but doesn't matter if I'm trying to do it discreetly. Apparently,
I mean, we got Anyway, we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today on AYS, I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. I'm always normally here, but my SEC college football co-host is going to be joining us here today, Joe DeLeon.
Sure.
For everybody who doesn't know Joe DeLeon, Joe, what's happening?
Not much. I was kind of hoping that there would be a little more drama today, and there's not. But there's still a lot to discuss with the playoff, and there's so many. The bowl game schedule is really freaking weird. And it's not weird in the sense where like there's like all these crazy takeaways that we can have, and we can be like, oh, how did so and so get into this bowl? It's just weird matchups like the Tulane USC one or the Iowa Kentucky one. It's going to be a fun slate.
Clemson has who did Clemson get? Shoot,
Tennessee, or am I tripping?
That's a good one. I think that there are some really interesting matchups. I hope Tulane, and I say this with the most Louisiana bias of all time, beats the dog shit out of you. I'm talking about like clap. They're not going to do well. They could do it. I mean, if Caleb Williams is hurt and he tore his hamstring, then there's no reason to risk playing him in a bowl game. So They might have a fighting chance. But look, Joe, let's break down this SEC championship game. Look, a lot of people are going to say what they're going to say about LSU. I was really impressed by how they fought back. They go down 35-7. They fight all the way back and make it a 3-score game and 20 points. But late Garrett Nussmeier interception and a late Garrett Nussmeier fumble, LSU's not able to capitalize and close that gap in the fourth quarter. But, Joe, we did talk about Saturday morning.
Yes.
LSU could expose Georgia's defense through the air with the receivers. But here's the ultimate question. Is there anybody left in the field in the playoff that has receivers? They're about to get them in Ohio State. So we're going to touch on that, but we're going to touch on the SEC championship game. Obviously, we got a massive LSU crowd that's in here. I want to get your thoughts on Purdue. You've probably seen Purdue more than any of us. I would assume maybe.
A little bit, enough to talk about them, even though that game was really, really boring, but nonetheless.
Well, I mean, that was the first time I sat down and watched Purdue, to be honest. I mean, I never sat down and just like watched Purdue to be point.
Yeah, I've watched them a couple times this year, especially that first game that they had at the beginning of the season against Penn State, and they've evolved and changed so much since then. There's a reason why they won the Big Ten West, though. There's really not a lot of competition in that division in the Big Ten. And it shook up the way that it did because of how inconsistent and how lopsided some of those teams were. It didn't take much for them to win it.
Yeah. And, look, we'll I think if, majority of LSU's team stays, which I think you're going to have some departures in the portal, which we will get to. Message boards going wild this morning in Alabama. So we will, it's being posted on social media. I think we might need to talk about that one if it's being posted. Also, look, we talked about this yesterday too. I call me crazy all you want to. Klubnik at Clemson's a problem. He's a problem now. So everybody wants to say Dabo's over. Okay, now I told you that if they win a natty before Dabo gets fired, steak dinner. So
yes, that's still on the that's still out there, and I think that Clemson is going to recover. I'm going to be praying to all hell that national championship doesn't happen because Klubnik looked really freaking good. But I still stand by my take that Dabo is one of the most stubborn coaches out there and is so unwilling to make changes.
I don't disagree.
We watched how good Klubnik is, and the only thing that's going through my head the whole game is why the hell were they not starting him sooner? After the South Carolina game, he should have been pulled. At the beginning of the South Carolina game, he should have been pulled. There were so many times during the season DJ Uiagalelei should have been pulled for Cade Klubnik.
No doubt.
But he's fantastic. I'm excited, and he's one of the few true freshmen, number one overall quarterbacks that can step in and make that kind of noise.
Well, you will be happy. I took the Vikings today -3. Last second heroics by their defense. The Jets just went down I think they won by 5, 27-22. What about your Giants? I didn't see the ending of that game. Did the Giants pull it out, or what happened there?
They tied, which is
the
most NFC East. Yeah, I didn't watch the game, admittedly, because I don't get that game out here. I don't want to pay for Game Pass, and I was at the gym when it was going on, but I was kind of tracking it, and then I got the notification right when I sat down is that it was a 20-20 tie, which it's one of the worst parts about the NFL. Can we put together some type of a shootout like in every level of professional sports?
Well,
something.
Yeah, I mean, if you can settle it in college football, you should be able to settle it in the NFL.
Yes.
I mean, anyway. All right, so let's do this, Joe. We got a lot to talk about. Let's talk some LSU, Georgia recap. Let's talk that game holistically, what we saw from that. But we do got to talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, listen, I just said I placed a bet. I placed it on betonline.ag. Props, parlays, futures, whatever you want, you can do that today. So listen, I got a little parlay brewing over at BetOnline. I just took the Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys in a small little parlay. I took the 2.5, the +2.5 with the Bengals. But you know me, man. I mean, I'm too Italian to bet big. I just bet, like $5, so $5 to win 20. So, but when you go, use the promo code BELIEVE50 at checkout. That's BELIEVE50, BLEAV50 at checkout, and you'll get 50% off your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. How many times do you think I've said that to memorize it with looking straight in the camera?
1,000 times. I've done the same thing for me where I don't have to do the reading more. I've said it. I've heard my co-host Sean say it on my college football pod. It's so many times.
Shout out to our good friends over at betonline.ag. All right, Joe, let's get into this. Listen, what we talk about a lot of times on this show, especially on Saturdays, I'm really homerish. But when we get here to AOIS, I kind of just let's get down to business. Let's get down to business here. LSU got their cheeks clapped up front. Georgia holistically just pushed them around on defense. LSU's defense did not play well. However, I don't know if you could say that Georgia's defense played well either. So a lot of people are talking about Garrett Nussmeier, and rightfully so, play extremely, extremely well. Let's see how that transfolds. We'll talk about that a lot in bowl season if he does, stick around, as most college quarterbacks don't.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, Georgia got exposed. Not only did Georgia get exposed, they got exposed by two quarterbacks. Now, people will say, well, Blake, Jane Daniels only scored 10 points in the first half, which I will agree. He was on pace, though, however, to have 400 passing yards with a guy that everybody says doesn't throw the football down the field. Joe, they attacked the middle of the field. They attacked Georgia long. I think of all these matchups for Georgia, the most intriguing is going to be the two in the Big Ten. Ohio State, for whatever it's worth, although they play pretty shitty all season, they have the dudes on the outside that can beat Georgia. The problem is their defense better than LSU's to stop anybody? Will ultimately be the question. When you watched LSU-Georgia yesterday, how did you transpire? And the second part of that question, you're a special teams guru, a special teams guy. I have never seen in my life a blocked field goal that resulted in a kick, what I guess you would call a kick six in that scenario, when the ball touched the ground. Now, the rule says if the ball's still rolling or rocking, I mean,
well, first of all, I got to say, I did get a kick out of one of your listeners tagged me and was like, let's ask Joe DeLeon. So I got to be completely honest with you. Did not know that was a rule. Someone did under that thread that you had.
To our listeners on AYS, you have not.
I did not know that was a rule. I thought that the ball had to be played in the air. I thought that the minute that it made contact with an opponent, But according to the officiating analysts, according to the officials, that's the rule. I just think that we haven't really seen anything like that because for the most part, I think it's if it advances past the line of scrimmage is what makes it a live ball. So if it went, I guess like I just don't understand
But it's
what
a live ball if it's behind the line of scrimmage.
Right, that's where I don't understand where I just have never seen something like that happen before, and it's not like it was something biased that happened that benefited Georgia. It's just I don't think any football player has the intelligence to pick up that football and run with it. It's one of those things where we make that assumption, and I would have made that assumption that play. I'd be walking off the field as the long snapper. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near the ball. I would have walked off the field.
Everybody knows you played 5 years at
4
Rhode
years.
Island.
Yes.
4 years at Rhode Island as a long snapper, and you didn't even know that.
No. And again,
Have you ever practiced that?
Never once. And it's kind of like some of those like intricate punt return rules where you can't advance the football. Like no one really knows that, but like a smart football player knows something like that. And credit to I forget which Georgia defender picked it up. Credit to that guy for just taking the risk and picking the football up and running with it. I don't think he even knew. I think that was just pure chance. Like, let's see what happens here. But one of those just strange, goofy rules. I can't sit here and say that it was like a biased decision.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I can't say it was a biased decision. I think it was just no one knew.
Is Brian Polian a good special teams coach? You being a Notre Dame fan?
I think he's fine. I think that
sucks.
They were really inconsistent when Polian was there. They were extremely inconsistent.
In what ways?
There were occasional snapping issues. There were occasional punting and kicking issues. And I think that now that Polian is gone and the name of the Notre Dame special teams coordinator under Freeman is slipping my mind, it's been a complete 180. They have one of the best special teams in the country. They've produced multiple blocked punts since then. But Polian's really inconsistent. Those issues that I'm seeing, like what we're talking about, it's not the first time that a kick's gotten blocked for LSU. Those kinds of things happen at Notre Dame. Those issues happen at Notre Dame. I'm not saying fire him, but what'd you say?
So this isn't new. This is something that happened at Notre Dame too. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I just want to get that cleared out of the way. Secondly, your thoughts on how the game transpired. I thought really and truthfully, I thought Jayden Daniels was eating them alive. I mean, the interception. I mean, to say that he only scored 13 or 10 in the first half, I mean, we just talked about the block kick. Mm-hmm. That's 3 points that should have happened. The interception that bounces off of Besh's helmet, that, I mean, come on. So I guess what were your thoughts about this game holistically?
I don't want to read into it too much on Georgia's defense because a lot of those points and a lot of those yards were produced in what some would consider to be garbage time. And I know that they were moving the ball early in the game when it looked close and then Georgia started to pull away. But again, I don't want to read into that too much because they started scoring all those points with Nussmeier in the third and fourth quarter. Like they were producing a lot of big plays with Nussmeier later on in the game. And one of the things that I always like to point to, and it happened in the Clemson game, is that oftentimes when a second quarterback enters the game, no matter how talented they are, if they have a really good game, most defenses aren't prepared to face that guy. They didn't game plan for that guy. If there's a stylistic difference in how they play the game,
I agree.
Georgia clearly wasn't prepared for him. They were clearly prepared for Jayden Daniels to run all over them. Cade Klubnik aired the ball out, or not Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier aired the ball out, and he looked fantastic, and he took advantage of the opportunity. Georgia is a little bit exposed, but I think the main takeaway for LSU fans, Nussmeier is fantastic. I hope that he stays, and I hope he's the guy next year.
He's got to get better, more consistent. So for me, I'm with you. He played great, and I don't want to take anything away from him, okay? Because it's a very difficult situation to come in, when he came in, how he came in, and all that. I think he does have a bright future, and if he's LSU starting quarterback next season and he plays like that, there's not a problem, right? Like LSU's going to do very fine and be really well. He is a talented human being. My problem with him is LSU was down 20 twice, and he turned the football over. So if you score, that's 13 points. LSU produces a 3-and-out on the following drive after the interception. So if you get a 3-and-out there, then if you score, then you're down to a 6-point game, Joe. My thing with that is then he fumbled the football. There are so many times that LSU should have capitalized that I think Georgia's defense just stepped up. My thing, though, is two quarterbacks kind of did it to him, right? Meaning, let's not forget now, Jaden Daniels had 200 yards passing in the first half.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, Garrett Nussmeier did fantastic. Can't take it away from him. So did Jaden through the air. Kayshon Boutte finally busted a grape and took a ball, to the house, which I kind of think he played pissed off a little bit. Okay. So in Georgia giving up, what was it? I think Pooh just brought it up here. Pooh, you can bring that up. 502 passing yards, Joe. I don't care if that's garbage time, Rudy Poo time, or when that is. That's a lot of damn yards to give up. Yeah. Here's the difference, though, that makes them damn near unstoppable defensively. You can't run worth the fuck. You just can't. Jalen Carter, let me ask you, is Jalen Carter going to be the number 1 overall pick?
I don't think he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, just simply because of positional value.
The number 1 overall pick
right now. Oh man, give me 1 second. I have it pulled up in my. I track this stuff.
I think it's going to be the Texans. They might take a quarterback.
I believe currently it is the Houston Texans. Oh, it's Texans, Chicago Bears. The Broncos pick goes to Seattle. I think that's probably going to be a quarterback, though.
Do you think he goes above Will Anderson?
No. Positional value usually dictates that no matter how talented the best defensive tackle is, he is always going to go behind an edge rusher. And when I did my evaluations in the summer, I had Jalen Carter like tied with Will Anderson. So positional value is going to give Will Anderson that slight bump, but I wouldn't be shocked if it happened. He's very capable of being drafted that high because he's so freaking unique.
Joe Burrow, Dane Bergeron says Joe Burrow's absolutely balling for the Bengals. Thank God my parlay might hit, baby. Hey, look, let me just say this. He's God on grass. Okay.
Oh, he's fantastic.
God, anyway. All right. Let me say this too. We talked about this yesterday morning. I don't like Georgia's DBs. I just don't. I think Keely Ringo got exposed, dude. Like I told you that on set. Dude,
yeah.
League Neighbors is going to expose him, and he exposed him. He's not the best corner in the SEC. He's big play or no play. Big play or no play. And if that man's going to try to guard Marvin Harrison Jr., good luck, because Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in the country. Emmanuel Forbes would never. He would. Well, here's the truth. He didn't. If I'm not mistaken, and Pooh can pull this up, I don't think he gave up a catch against LSU. So, call me crazy. Well, and we'll get into this playoff. Call me crazy. I think that they're in a world of trouble with Ohio State. That's when it comes to throwing the football through the air.
Yes.
So maybe the committee did get it right. Maybe they did.
I do really like that matchup, and I don't mean to jump the gun on talking about the playoff. If you want to wait to get to that or not, but
yeah, we can wait.
Okay.
All right.
It's a great matchup. We'll get to it. It's going to be a really fun matchup. It's unique because of what we're talking about. That secondary matchup might help Ohio State keep it a competitive game.
Agreed. LSU though does go to the Citrus Bowl. Okay. I do want to ask you, Purdue, what do you think of them? I think that I watched them last night. They're just an average team, man, at best.
Yeah. The thing with Purdue is that average is a really good descriptor for it, because you look at the Big Ten West, and it was in the running for it. It was Wisconsin, it was Iowa, it was Purdue, it was Minnesota. Like there were all those teams to me are all the same damn team. They all run the ball really well. They've all got, except for Iowa, like a decent quarterback. They get a couple splash plays. They've got like a gritty defensive line.
I took on Thanksgiving Day.
Sorry. I was clicking I was trying to turn the mute button off on the Bengals game. Somehow my TV that's right here just went into the what do you call this? The Roadcaster. Sorry, the Bluetooth.
That's actually hilarious. I didn't even know that a Roadcaster has that capability, but
it's got the new one's got the Bluetooth, but
I need to get me one of those. But Purdue, like they've got some dudes. Like they're not a team that anyone in the SEC I think should be afraid of. Aiden O'Connell's like a decent quarterback, and he's somebody who's been discussed as like a decently draftable prospect. I think he has an invite to the Shrine game. Outside of that, though, I don't think this is going to be a very difficult matchup for LSU. Not saying that LSU is going to work them. They will have they will have to put up a fight to beat them and to beat them handedly. But they are not one of the most difficult opponents that they faced by a long stretch. This is a lopsided game for LSU.
LSU needs to get 10 wins. They got to come out focused. They're building something down in the Bayou. I will say this. What does worry me about these kind of bowl games, Joe, is that, like how many, like LSU's already somewhat depleted and not having a full 80, 85 man roster. My issue is, like, if guys start hitting the portal, then what? Like those are the things that.
Do you think a lot of LSU guys are gonna jump in the portal?
I think LSU could get to 5 or 7 very early. Because look, and we'll talk about this. This opens up tomorrow, Joe. Like,
yeah, there's gonna be a whirlwind of shit. Like, I've heard some crazy stuff.
Hey, I was gonna say this tomorrow. I'm not gonna really report on anything other than it being LSU dudes. I mean, because I'm not gonna be able to keep up with the amount of individuals going in the portal. Like, I just can't. So, I mean, it's going to be a whirlwind, and we'll get to that. But that's the kinds of things that worry me. Mm-hmm. Here's the things that don't worry me. If Garrett Nussmeier does stay and doesn't enter the portal, let's see him in a full game. Don't let Jaden Daniels play. This game bears nothing. It means nothing. So what if you don't get the 10 wins? Don't play him. However, if he does transfer, then you get to see 5-star quarterback Walker Howard. Now, a lot of people are buzzing around him, around LSU. That would be the one thing that I would really be interested in.
Can I ask you a really quick question? So I keep hearing different things about Jaden Daniels' situation. It's assumed that he leaves and tries to jump to the NFL.
I don't think he leaves.
So he's got eligibility to come back?
Yeah, he's got the COVID year.
God, this eligibility is impossible to figure out because of that stupid COVID year.
This will be
eighth year.
Well, I think you got 2 more classes of it. I mean, no, I mean, it would be his 5th season.
Yeah.
It'd be his 5th season. I don't think that's, I mean, LSU had a 6-year right tackle last year. I mean, the dude, like, bro, think about this. LSU had a quarterback, Miles Brennan, that medically retired. Okay. My dog, like, legitimately committed to LSU during the Obama administration. Like, I make jokes about that, but my dog, like, legitimately went through 3 presidents. He went through Obama, he went through Trump, and he went through Biden, until he medically retired. That's insane. He lasted 2 coaches almost.
Oh my God, 2? He has 2 more years. So as good as Nussmeier was in that game, and I've said this a million times over, I think, like, Jaden feels like he's the best guy for what Brian Kelly looks for in a quarterback. So it might be more beneficial for that to be Jaden to stay. What do the LSU fans think?
Well, they don't. After yesterday, they're going to want, a lot of them are going to want Nussmeier. But here's the thing with Jaden. He led you to 9 games. He led you to an SEC West title. I don't think it's fair for you to just instantly pull him without a competition. Okay, now, a half's not going to change my mind when a guy has 2 fumbles or 2 turnovers and a half. I mean, and a guy was on a trajectory to have 400 yards passing. Here's the thing. Here's the only thing with Jaden, though. Okay, is his legs? Does his legs separate him from everybody in the pack? Yes, but Joe, he's got to throw the fucking ball down the field at times, like he did yesterday, which he did. Look, you got to give it to him. Okay, the Keisha, he was a product yesterday of a lot of bad decision making by a lot of players. Okay, Jack Best giving up on the slant and it hit him in the hands and it hitting off of somebody's helmet and somebody's asshole and it flopping up in the air and it being picked off. Okay, like, there's nothing you can do about that. The block kick, and from an LSU perspective, I don't like. We can talk all the offense we want to. But your defense just got it taken to you by Texas A&M and Georgia. You got a problem.
Yeah.
And they got a problem up front in the interior of that defensive line. I don't give a damn who starts at this point. I'm an LSU dude. I'm not a Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier dude. You got to get more interior defensive linemen to rotate or you're in trouble. The biggest thing about Georgia, Joe, and then we'll start transitioning to this playoff. The biggest thing that I noticed, and I'd seen them do it some, not a lot though, this year. They legitimately rotated in and out 9 dudes on the defensive line, and Nolan Smith's out.
Which is insane and frightening.
It's frightening, and they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a beat.
I mean, that's what makes Georgia so dangerous.
No doubt.
I almost don't even, as bad as their secondary has been and as many yards as they gave up in that game yesterday, I have no faith in like Ohio State being able to block those guys.
I don't either.
They have a really soft offensive line, and they've got some really talented players. Like I love Paris Johnson. I love him as a prospect, but the ways that they got punched in the mouth against Michigan is really, really concerning.
Yep.
And those Michigan dudes aren't even close to what Georgia brings to the table.
No, they don't have. Kirby said in the pregame, Kirby was asked pregame by an LSU beat reporter or Georgia beat reporter about, Coach, when you were at Alabama, did you ever have a guy like a Jalen Carter in the interior? And he said, I can't think of anybody that's like him because, I mean, he's 6'6", 360, and he can move the way that he's moving. You know, like, I mean, he's a left tackle. Joe, he is a left tackle with that athleticism playing defensive tackle, right? Like, there's no reason he should do that. All right, so let's transition to this. Again, guys, if you haven't done so already, use our good friends over at betonline.ag. Use the promo code BELIEVE50 at checkout. You'll get 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. All right, let's transition. This is going to be probably something, Joe, that me and you argue about. This is going to be a good one, so everybody's going to have to stay tuned here, okay? Joe, are you ready to debate?
Yes, I'm ready to debate. As always.
I'm going to tell you something you're not going to agree with, and a lot of people
related. I can just tell.
Well, I mean, I could tell messages, okay, between you and I. Let me just say this. Did they ultimately get it right based off of the criteria that they have to be met? Yes. Okay. Strength of schedule, blah, 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 all the Rudy Poo shit that they think that they're doing right. Joe, you know that team gets beat by Alabama. You also know that TCU has not played Tennessee or LSU. I'm just saying, and here's what pissed me off the most last night when I found out TCU was in. Okay, and that's why I tweeted this morning, the 4 at like 7 o'clock. This is the thing that pissed me off the most. How in the F word can you lose and not be moved? And you're basically telling everybody in the country, this has nothing to do with anything other than TV ratings, because you can't say TCU is oh, well, they're the Big 12 champion. Bitch, no, they ain't. Kansas State is the Big 12 champion. They don't belong at 3. You know that. You cannot lose and not get dropped.
They could move to 4, and I understand that argument, but they still. But if if the TV ratings were so important, then Alabama would have been in over TCU.
No, I don't. The reason they didn't put Alabama in is because they know the backlash that they would have gotten.
Yes,
that's the reason. Okay, but you can't convince me. You cannot convince me that how does a team like TCU go out there and lose and not fault anything?
Right. I don't disagree with that, but I still firmly believe that TCU belongs in it over Alabama, and it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the Alabama versus TCU and like who wins on a neutral field. I want to remove that from the equation because I don't think that's the most that shouldn't be a part of the argument. The issue here is that Alabama has 2 losses, and if they wanted to be in the playoff, they should have won the games that they needed to win to get into the playoff. The regular season is useless if they get put in. It's basically telling us that we can just pick the teams ahead of time. We're gonna go check everybody's rosters, and we're gonna assume who's got the most 5 stars and the most talented team, and then those are the 4 teams that are gonna go out there. And I want to lump this in there as well. If we just wanted to throw in a team that had some close losses and a bunch of 5-star players with a coach who's won a national championship game, shit, Texas A&M technically qualifies for that. Like, I just think that we go down this slippery slope of like removing the regular season. You lose 2 games and you lose to Tennessee and you lose to LSU.
Their ranked wins are not equivalent to SEC wins. SEC ranked wins,
but they still went undefeated in their regular season play, and they lost in overtime off of a touchdown that they actually probably should have gone.
Alabama.
Wait,
Alabama lost in overtime to LSU. They lost on the last second field goal. We're taking 1 loss. Alabama has 1 more loss, and TCU's not a champion.
So if Alabama hypothetically if there was no divisions in the SEC and they played Georgia in the SEC championship game, let's say that was the hypothetical matchup, and then they lost that game, like then what happens? Then they're a 3-loss Alabama team. Do they then get put in?
I'm to the point where in this season, and I'm making exceptions to this rule.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this question. Okay, let me ask you this question. If LSU would not have lost to A&M and would have beat Georgia yesterday, what would you have done?
Wait,
what would you have done?
Yes.
If LSU would have beat A&M last week and then beat Georgia yesterday, okay.
Oh, then they get in with 2 losses. That's a completely different.
So here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. I'm about to change the argument. I'm going to change the argument from TCU to and Bama to TCU and Ohio State. Who gets in?
If it came down to those teams, if it came down to just TCU and Ohio State, I would, despite the fact that the problem is that wait. I didn't. That is not.
What's his name?
They both have 1 loss. Ohio State's loss was a blowout loss to Michigan. I wouldn't justify Ohio State putting them in over TCU. I would still put TCU in. Their 1 loss this season was in their conference championship game by a close score on a questionable call where he might have gotten in. There were multiple instances where they could have gotten in, and it looked like Kendre Miller extended the ball past the line of scrimmage. That should have been called a touchdown. I don't want to get into I hate doing the officiating bit, but they lost a close game compared to what Ohio State's loss was. And I know that the Big Ten is higher and better competition than the Big 12, but at the same time, a lot of the teams that they go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Please give me Kansas every week.
But every team isn't Kansas, though.
Please give me Baylor. There's not a Baylor. Look, I listen. You can call me nuts, okay? The A&M team that LSU played destroys Baylor. They get destroyed. You know that, okay? Who are the top teams in the Big 12?
TCU, Kansas State. Also, wait, I want to throw this in there.
Texas took a deuce all over them.
Texas almost beat Alabama with their backup quarterback in.
Again.
And TCU beat Texas.
If my aunt had a penis, she'd be my uncle.
Come on, that means something. If TCU beat Texas and Texas almost beat Alabama with their backup quarterback in, TCU beat Texas with Quinn Ewers.
You can't use transitive properties, though. You can't use transitive property.
Why can't I?
Oh, you want to know why?
I'm not doing 3 steps. There's a 1-step situation here.
Tennessee blew out LSU. And then they lost beat Alabama by 3, and then LSU beats Alabama.
Wait, but you're adding too many steps. My step is simple. Alabama.
No, it's the same thing. One team LSU played Tennessee. They all are in this little mismatch of games. Transitive properties don't work.
I don't like to rely on them, but I think it is relevant to bring up in the argument because the argument is that the SEC is so much better than the Big 12, but one of the Big 12 matchups that we have here, one of those games that we have here is that Texas almost beat Alabama, the team that is brought up in the conversation. Forget me trying to do the transitive property. Let's just acknowledge for a second that Alabama's most impressive win this season is over Texas with Hudson Card in for most of that game. That is their most impressive win.
That's their most impressive win.
What is then? Arkansas?
No.
Yeah.
But here's another thing. You can, I agree. And listen, Pooh's right. I don't like making this argument. Okay. Pooh's right in the sense, our producer, I don't like defending Bama. Okay. But here's what I also know to be true is if I would fight for LSU in a situation like this, then if I'm going to cover the SEC, I should fight for everybody in the conference. And okay. I will make this. And look, we use Alabama in this. Okay. I don't give two Rudy Poos if you use Alabama or you use Tennessee. I really don't. Okay. Because South Carolina right now, they could be outside of TCU. They could run the Big 12. They could. There are teams.
I don't think they beat Kansas State.
Well,
I don't think they beat Kansas State.
They'd still. So South Carolina being the 6th best team in the SEC would be the 3rd best team in the Big 12.
3rd or 4th. I don't. I think that maybe
the 3rd best. The South Carolina team that's playing right now, the 6th or 7th best team in the SEC would probably be 3rd. Come on, just give me that one.
I will. Okay, I will give you that.
Okay,
I will concede that.
My point being, even if it's Tennessee, well, got blown out. I don't really give a shit. It's a deeper conference. You don't have weeks off. TCU had the privilege of having a weaker schedule, and everybody says, what about the ranked wins? You mean from a mathematician? So everybody complains about the rankings so much throughout the season, but then when they want their little darlings in, they use those same rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's Tennessee. I don't. I think Tennessee is better than TCU. If TCU would have won their conference, okay, then I would have shut up. They're not the conference champion. Kansas State's the conference champion.
But if Tennessee, look, I'm not saying that they're not a good competitive team, and it sucks that they don't have Hendon Hooker, and it kind of makes it a little bit harder for me wanting for them to be in. I don't want to watch Joe Milton. Joe Milton's not that good. He's okay.
Well, I agree with you. But then the last time, because but kids can evolve and kids can get better. I get it's Vandy. For the love of God, I get it's Vandy.
But it's the same. But the one thing I just have to say is that it's the same argument that I have for Alabama, is that they should have beaten South Carolina. They should have beaten South Carolina. Them losing to South Carolina removes them from the equation. Like that. Yes, that team is a quality SEC team. It is a mid-tier SEC team. But to get embarrassed in that fashion to a middle of the pack team, I don't think for a team
3rd in the Big 12.
Forget that part about the Big 12 part. A middle of the pack team in your conference. TCU's not. There's no team in the Big 12 that's going to blow out TCU. TCU was always competitive.
That's my point. That's my point.
I understand what your point is, but I just don't think that supports the argument as well as you think. That's concerning.
Who does Texas play in their bowl game?
What?
Who does Texas play in their bowl game? Pooh, can we find that really quick? Who does Texas play? If they're the 3rd best team, I pray to God
it's someone bad. It's someone. No, whoa, it's not. I
don't they play in the Alamo Bowl? I think they're playing in the Alamo Bowl.
Something stupid like that. But
yeah, anyway.
My point here is why is the 4 teams that get into the playoff are the most deserving of a national championship, and we're going to use that to decide who wins the national championship. I don't think a team that gets blown out.
Oh, hell no. They got Penix. They got Washington.
Oh, I do remember that. I think that they're gonna lose to Washington.
Oh my God,
they're gonna lose to Washington.
Get beat by Washington, brother.
They're gonna lose to Washington.
Okay, then they're not that. Then the Big 12 isn't that good.
We're kind of using the transitive property here because it's who's the quality of the conference compared to the quality of this conference determines.
Penix Jr. Can I tell you something? All right, I know we're debating. Can I tell you? I love him.
Oh, I do too.
Oh my God, I love Penix Jr. He is a blast to watch.
Yeah, I can't say what I don't want to be too inappropriate on this show, but the name that I call him on my show, it's very similar to the South Carolina bit that I
just go ahead and say it.
I call him Michael Penis Jr. because that was I forget where it was, but someone made there was a long time last season or Indiana, someone made a someone tweeted out a grammatical error and referred to him as Michael Penis Jr. So like, it's fine.
No way.
I forget who it was.
No way.
It's a stupid bit. I'm so easily entertained.
Well, look, it's fine, but I would here ultimately I get it, and I get it, and I understand it, okay? And there's nothing I can do about all of this. We're going to have the playoffs that is going to be expanded. So it is what it is, okay? So I can't change it, even though it should be changed. I will say this. The one thing, and I think you got to agree with this, there's no excuse on planet Earth, though, for TCU not moving down a spot.
I do agree with that, and I think it would – the counter argument is because of the blowout loss to Michigan, and I think that they also didn't want Michigan to play Ohio State again. I'm sure that was part of the –
then you're just telling me it's all about TV then, Joe.
Well, if they would want that for TV, then I would argue that they would want Michigan to play Ohio State.
They would want it in a national title game if it came to it.
Which is unlikely. I just think part of it is that we already know that Michigan is better than Ohio State by how handedly they beat them. It's not like it was a close loss. It was a handed loss. So I feel like that the committee was trying to say, like, okay, if we move TCU back and they play each other, do we really want to risk another blowout? That is where I think the ratings comes into play. And they also probably didn't want a blowout between TCU and Georgia, because that also would have been a blowout. Instead, we have two competitive matchups. And I said this on my show immediately after the rankings were revealed. I do not think that TCU is going to beat Michigan. I think it is very unlikely. Will probably be by 10 or so points, just because they don't have
the line. That's the line. It's 10 and a half.
They don't have the bodies, and we've talked about this to all end. They do not have the bodies on the defensive line to compete with Michigan.
No, they don't. And really and truthfully, when they go out there and get demolished by Michigan, I don't want to hear anything. Right? Like I
don't think they're going to get demolished, but they're not going to win.
I will say, in one thing I got to give TCU is their quarterback. Max Duggan,
the dog.
Brother, what a stud. What a stud. I mean, just giving it all out on the line. And really, if there's one thing that look, because it's not his fault that I have this argument. He's just a guy. And I will tell you, if I'm a GM in the NFL and I have a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick, I'm taking him.
He might get drafted sooner than that. And I don't necessarily know what his eligibility is. And I hope that he has the ability to come back. I don't think that's likely. But regardless, he might go a little sooner. I think that he's really shown some development. I think the mentality, though, is the big thing. Like if Sam Ehlinger can go as high as he did, Max Duggan's a better prospect than Sam Ehlinger.
Come on here. Listen. Don't talk about Sam Ehlinger.
We're back.
The charity stripe guys are going to eat you alive on that one. But there's Sam. He's not that good though. He's really
Duggan. You don't think he's good?
No. Ehlinger.
Ehlinger sucks.
Yeah. So it
issue.
is what it is. Really quickly, and I want to get to. We can continue to talk. Well, let's talk about this then. We didn't get to Georgia and Utah. Georgia and Ohio State. We touched on it a little bit. So let's touch on that game. I think we kind of pretty much touched on we all agree, and there's nothing to really break down that TCU Michigan game. Let's break down this though. The most intriguing matchup of what might be the season in the postseason, I should say. I think it's going to be Ohio State, and it's going to be Georgia. We talked about that one at length, but you're on the belief that Ohio State can't win.
I think what gives them an advantage, in a unique advantage, is we're talking about the issues Georgia's secondary has, and if you get Jackson Smith and Jigba back, that is going to be the best passing attack that they have seen all season, significantly better than Tennessee's. They have the capability to put up some serious points, and I would be worried if JSN is available for Ohio State. But my concern comes into play is that if they're not in a rhythm and they don't get into a rhythm early and create some splash plays, get Georgia on their heels, if Georgia sets the tone early, they're screwed. They're done. Those bodies, Jalen Carter and company, are going to eat that offensive line alive. And CJ Stroud, we know, man, he is not the type of guy that handles pressure well at all.
He does not. He does not.
He will piss down his leg, and he will be done early if they get into his face quickly.
And that's what I would say about yesterday's game and guys like Hendon Hooker and like Garrett Nussmeier, Jaden Daniels, Hendon Hooker. They would sit in the pocket. And I don't know if CJ's got that dog in him, like Roof. I don't know if he's got that dog enough in him to want to sit in there. But here's the thing. What I don't understand, why aren't you trying to use your legs, CJ? You can run a little bit. The only thing for me on this game, I tweeted this out. I probably should have tagged you in it. I think Georgia's going to absolutely splatter them up front on both sides.
Yes.
Splatter. Okay. I think it could be as bad in the sense of Ohio State fans might go into these message boards and call for Ryan Day's head.
That's going to happen. It's going to happen. They were doing it after the Michigan game, so if they get embarrassed enough, it's going to happen.
Well, and to that point, Joe, they're not ready for what they're about to face. They're not ready, okay? Now, do I think Ryan Day should be fired? No. Do I think they're still a good team? Yes. But I just think that you line up and look, my key to victory was line up and stop the run. LSU did it in the first half, and Stetson Bennett ate them alive. Stetson Bennett ate LSU alive, and it's not like they don't have dudes on that back end because LSU has shown that they can hang with dudes. Brother, I think Stetson Bennett really has separated them a little bit. I think he separated them a little bit because if they can't run the football, it doesn't matter. Georgia, Georgia's kind of to me like it doesn't matter what you want to do to us. We're just going to beat your ass anyway. And that's scary to me. So I don't know. I don't even even in all this, I don't even know who wins the Heisman now. Do you still give it to Caleb Williams? I'm not giving him shit. I don't do that, but
dude, did you see the shit that he did on Twitter? Somebody posted the post-game press conference with Duggan and him crying in there, which was way more deserving, him crying after what he did compared to Caleb Williams sulking on the sideline after writing "fuck Utah" on his fingernails and then getting, being all whiny because he got punched in the mouth. He commented, he quote tweeted, this video of Duggan crying. He just said LOL and then he deleted it. And everybody caught him. I'll send it to you after.
No,
yes, he did. I'm going to send it to you. And he's been backtracking the whole day. Everybody has been on his ass because he did that. And I was low on respect for him after the whole fuck Utah fingernail thing, but I'm completely out on him after seeing him.
Joe, this is my point, and why people rip me alive about Blake. It's just a word. It's not about a word. It's about character.
Yes, absolutely.
In which he doesn't have any. Look, I talked about this about Denver Harris. I think Denver Harris, the 5-star corner that went to A&M, now going to be in the portal. I think that kid is the most talented young man that you can find on the planet when it comes to what he does. But there's a level of respect that you have to have. There's a level you're going to call me crazy. When Johnny Manziel was at A&M, I thought he was the biggest shitbag, toolbag dude on the planet. I still think he is. There's got to be a level of respect that you show your opponent, and he just doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. So what a douche.
I just send you it.
What a douchebag.
I'm trying to find the original one, but Reddit CFB tweeted it, but they took it down. I don't know. I'm sure somebody reached out to him and told him to. I just texted it to him. But I hate that though. It is that that is, you got to earn some respect. And I think that he was getting way too ahead of himself in how he clearly was reading into every headline that he was the Heisman winner, that he's the big dog and the best player in the country. And I think that
cool. I didn't know that. Joe, did you know this? That the Heisman has a morality clause?
Wait, what?
Actually, Pooh's right on this. I do remember this. The Heisman has a morality clause, which some didn't want Cam Newton and Manziel. Do you remember the what was it, Pooh? Mississippi State paying Cam Newton like $200,000 and his daddy, and they built him a church or something. Look, spare me. But yeah, they do have a morality clause.
I didn't know that. I mean, I don't think that's going to end up coming into play because
Are we going to get fired because we're trashing him and Braun's a big USC fan?
I hope not. I mean, I try not to do it publicly in the office, but I will bash him all day on my show, on this show. No, I'm not a fan of it. I think anyone who's played the game, most people are not fans of it. The only people that like it are the USC fans, and that's it.
Dane Bergeron said this is Blake, the Bengals defense is beating up Mahomes. Brother, if I hit on this parlay, I'm going to cream everywhere. Pause. All right. Well, I don't know. All right, Joe, I do want to get to the portal really quickly, and we can start wrapping this up. Last night, late last night and then early this morning, do you know who Message Board Genius is? They're all over Twitter. So that this he's really funny. It's him and his wife. So they go on all of these college football message boards, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They like screenshot, and when I talk about the stupidest, I mean the stupidest message board stuff. And they posted on Twitter. Last night, somebody on one of the Bama sites said something about Drake May, the quarterback at North Carolina, going to Alabama and going in the portal. Ty Simpson, who is their 5-star quarterback now, has made interest that he might entertain going into the portal. Buddy, if Drake May, let me say this. Number one, Drake May was probably the last freshman quarterback that everybody saw coming out and being a Heisman hopeful. Okay, because he was a low 4-star recruit. That dude, regardless if it's Alabama or anybody, is going to bring in some serious money in the portal. He is going to bring in some serious money if he hits the board. I don't care if it's Alabama. I will tell you this. I did hear that Miami has gotten into the fold with him or tried to get in the fold with him.
So the other one that I heard was Florida as well. I
think Florida might be out. I
wonder, is it because somebody else is coming there?
Well, I think that well, let me say this. Let me say this. If they're paying Jaden Rashada $9 million, they're not. They're not. If they're paying Rashada $9 million, they're not going to go get what Drake May's going to cost. Drake May's going to cost $1.5 million. He's going to cost $1.5 million. On what the market is dictating,
he might cost more than that.
Well, he might. But if Bryce Young's making 1.5 in the public records request that they got, then he's going to dictate what Bryce is going to get. And Bama will pay it. Bama's going to pay it.
Absolutely. And look, if I'm Drake May, do not go to Miami because that's a lateral move. That program is a mess.
It's a worse move. It's a worse move.
Yeah, there is less infrastructure, and that team is nowhere near ready to compete at the level that UNC is at least able to compete at. From what I heard, and I had texted you, I had heard this from a couple indirect places before this became public on the whole message board thing. And apparently enough people are talking about it that it's being posted on these message boards. So now it's public so we can discuss it. He's going to enter. I really do believe that he is going to enter the portal. And it sounds
here's some of it here, Joe, just to give you an idea. So they just like Swamp 247. They're talking about how the game's going to suck. And then they said Drake May who. So here's another one too. Like Bama Online, they're saying, so if you haven't followed these guys, they're good buddies of ours. Y'all should go and find them. It's Message Board Geniuses on Twitter.
Got it. But it sounded like when I first heard about it was either Alabama or Florida. Again, Miami's a terrible spot. Florida's not a bad move if that is a possibility. You do bring up some really good points. If I am Drake May, I am going to the University of Alabama. They are going to completely they are pissed off, and I'm sure that the boosters are probably really annoyed that they didn't have a shot this year, and they're going to throw as much money at that problem to fix it as possible. And it's going to start with Drake May, and they'll get him some nice weapons, and they're going to be great next year if that's going to be their starting quarterback.
Start with Bill O'Brien, I think, too. I think he's going to have to make some coordinator changes. They got to get better at receiver, too. Joe, let me ask you this. Now that we have a year, LSU revamped their team through the portal. USC revamped their team through the portal. So many teams have done it. Do you think it's going to be even more wild now? Like the receiver from Missouri, love it.
Oh,
like
he might be gone. There's a
that is what he's going to be hearing in his future, I hope.
I mean, it's possible, but regardless, there's going to be a lot of moves. This is going to be, last cycle was crazy, and it went as far as Jordan Addison joining really late with USC and how much of a dramatic issue that was. It's going to be tenfold. It's going to be so much worse. There is so much big money that's going to be thrown around at these kids, and we're going to have a completely different shaped landscape of college football after this. Just be ready.
Well, what's crazy is all these coaches go to the podium and say the transfer portal is bad for college football, but yet I know for a fact that they're tampering with kids. Spare me.
Right.
Spare me. Nobody wants to get fired. Everybody wants the best players. So spare me, Dabo. Okay? Dabo, the reason Dabo don't like hitting the portal because nobody wants to go play for his stupid ass after they find out what's really going on over there sometimes. So, yeah, I digress. Anybody else you think that might hit the portal that's a big name guy? That you can share. Don't share anything you can't share.
Yeah, I was reluctant to share the Drake May thing, but that's good to know
it's all
yeah,
over.
That's out there. But I think right now the biggest one to watch, and it's very likely, is DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson. And there's going to
UCLA.
I think UCLA would be fantastic for him. The way how creative Chip Kelly is, and how effectively he used Dorian Thompson-Robinson as a runner. I think that translates. He's a good athlete. He's a big, strong kid. The other one I could see, assuming Bo Nix leaves, which I believe is going to be the case, he's going to be a Senior Bowl kid. I think that Oregon would be a great spot for him too.
By the way, I know Bruce tweeted this out. Joe Brady's not going to be the next offensive coordinator at Oregon.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes, I do.
That kind of sucks. That would have been really fun if he went there. I was kind of hoping for that.
Yes, I know that for a fact. He hates recruiting. He's not going to do it.
Isn't Dan Lanning the primary recruiter there, though? Or was that a lot of
but let me tell you something.
Dillingham.
Team Jarrett, Caleb Williams, who was the kid that's at Alabama now? He went to Georgia. No, not Burns. What the hell?
Braxton Burmeister?
No, Jermaine Burton.
Oh.
Thank you, Pooh. Jermaine Burton, he got broken. He trusted 17-year-old kids, and his feelings got hurt. So he hated the brother. Let me share this something quickly. I'm not going to share a lot of detail. I just know that the meme, the meme that said "fuck them kids." It said, "fuck them kids." I would put $1,000 on that Joe Brady was the one that started the meme. Okay.
So do you think he's staying in the NFL then? Is
that well, I don't know. Let me say this. I don't know if he stays in the NFL, but what I do know is he's not going to Oregon. Okay. That I knew. Well, at least he's told people in Baton Rouge and people that were close with him, and Bruce Feldman obviously as well, that he went full Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not fucking leaving. Okay. So yeah, I don't think it's happening. He that's how much he loathes recruiting. And really and truthfully, how can you blame him? And
we were just talking about the NIL stuff. It's
right.
Impossible.
All right, so let's end it here. I gotta get the entertaining topics out the way. Mm-hmm. So we'll end the show with this one. Deion, brother, he's got 4-star receivers in 2024 and 2025 committed already.
Oh, he was making moves.
Recruiting those kids. They already knew. They already knew.
And Shadur's coming with him too, apparently. I saw that.
Did you see Deion's press conference? He said he called his son out and he said, "Hey, just want to let y'all know that's your starting quarterback, but he's going to have to earn the job." But I'm thinking, hey, Deion, the portal hadn't opened yet.
they also you can't do that.
Can you tamper with your own kid?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that, because
that can't be a rule, right?
Right. If you can sit at the dinner table with them during the holidays, you can 1000% tamper with your own kid. That's that.
Agreed. Look, I think it's, and Pooh Bear and them on the Believe do the HBCU Hour, the Golden Boot podcast. Go and listen to it. They'll be breaking it down a lot, I'm sure, just especially more than probably what we will right here. I think he's going to have a lot of success. We talked about it yesterday, but I mean, it just, as much as I don't want to talk about Deion, I kind of want to just tip my cap to Colorado, right? Like, you shot for the stars, you landed. Okay. Shout out to Colorado for actually giving a shit. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make something happen, and they did. That's how I feel about it, Joe.
Yeah, I'm honestly really stunned that this is the job that he picked. I thought that he would have left for something a little bit more meaningful. I thought that his commitment to Jackson State was going to be only leaving for a really big job that became available. I'm pissed at the big programs like Nebraska, like Wisconsin,
Auburn,
like Cincinnati, like Auburn, especially, for not at least picking up the phone and putting in a more of a conceited effort to interview him. And I think that there was just legitimate concern. There's very few guys that make that jump right from FCS to FBS right away. Kleiman at Kansas State is one of the few that I think of off the top of my head. And he was at North Dakota State for a really long time and won multiple national championships before he made that jump. So the concerns are understandable. I thought for that reasoning, if the opportunity didn't open itself this cycle, he would wait until the next or a few following until an SEC job, a Big Ten job opened up for him. But Colorado, to your point, huge credit to him, man. I'm excited. I think this is fun. It brings a little juice to Colorado. It's a bit of a weird fit because I like Colorado.
Oh, he's bringing the swag.
I hope so, because like that's one of the least swaggiest schools in the country.
Well, you know what else I would look, as much as I shit on other conferences, as much as I love college football. You know what he does too? Deion instantly makes the Pac-12 entertaining again.
Yes.
Okay. So with that being said, okay, it makes college football holistically better. I will promise you this, because he offered LSU's tight end today in the 2024 class. I don't think he's going to flip yet. It was an offer. God forbid he wins 8 games.
Immediately or just in general?
Well, if he wins 8 games in the first 2 seasons, like if he wins 8 games next year or win 8 games in the second year, God bless it. He's gone, brother, because people are going to offer him.
Yeah.
They're going to look, you know how this works. We always say, oh, well, who would actually open up? Well, shit, there's a lot of places that would open up. You know what? Let me tell you another team that might open up. If Sam Pittman in Arkansas screw the poochie in, Arkansas could open up.
Well, weren't they originally interested in him? Wasn't Arkansas originally talking to Deion when they were?
Yeah, but I don't think that they were serious about it, right?
Okay.
Here's another one. I'll go up just a little bit north. And I'm talking SEC here. What's going to happen with Drinkwitz? Now, Missouri, refused to play Kansas, which is allegedly reported.
Well, I hope that's not true.
Well, apparently they wanted to play and their administration wouldn't let him play. I hope Deion doesn't go there. There are some teams that are out there that he could go to if he has some success. And look, I'm never going to poo-poo on, and I'm not trying to get political here, a black man getting the head coach at a Power 5 job. I'm not going to do it. So, I mean, I think it's a great fit. I think it's a great fit because Colorado needs to be relevant. They just got relevant. He did just – Pooh Bear just put this up. Bring it up, Pooh. Not the Jerry Jones thing, the other one. He said there's also a reported rift between him and his son Shiloh as well. Tune into the Golden Boot podcast tonight at 7:30. Okay.
Well, Shiloh hasn't really been playing as much.
I gotta be honest. I haven't. Y'all would know more than me.
Pooh Bear is gonna know more than I would on this. Because Shadur has been the one who everyone talks about.
What does he play? What does he play? Pooh, what does he play?
I think. Maybe I'm not as Shadur's the quarterback. He's a safety. Shadur's the quarterback, and frankly, I think Shadur's the better of the two. I'd be curious to see, and that's interesting that Pooh Bear has that info. I'm curious to see what the rift is, and we don't want to give it out on here because they're going to talk about it on the Golden Boot podcast.
Deion said his mama stank. I did see this because I watched a whole 10-minute clip of Deion telling his players he was leaving. You know, Deion said there's never been a lot of times I've made the wrong decision in my life, other than maybe some marriages. And Shador said, "Hey."
I've been Shiloh laughing.
I bet you he was. So I thought that was funny. All right. It's been fun, Joe. Thank you for hopping on AYS officially.
Sure.
We will have some big news coming up soon with me and Joe. So it's going to be fun. But until then, guys, thank y'all so much. Joe, thank you. Thank you so much
for having me. This was fun.
It always is, man. We got connection like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Which, by the way, it's 14-10 and Bengals are on the doorstep. So come on, parlay. You know, I wonder if BetOnline gets mad if I win games. You know, like, hey, we pay you to be.
Well, you're winning like $8, so it's it's like how much are they going to get? Unless you're placing some big money bets.
Do you think they screenshot my bet and like, oh look, Rafino's trying to bet again? Yeah,
I want us to use the product. That's the whole point.
It's true. All right, guys, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.